The Fantasy Football Hub are currently offering any FPL TV viewer a massive 25% discount on membership if you get signed up now before Game Week 1. By becoming a member, you'll gain access to one of the biggest and fastest growing FPL communities with a range of excellent fantasy tools. These tools include extensive Opta stats, player comparisons, fixture tickers, double game week spreadsheets, and team reveals from some of the world's best FPL managers. To claim this discount, simply click the link in the description box below, or you can use the code FPLTV25 when signing up. Hey guys, and welcome back finally to FPL TV. With the Euros now over, and with the FPL game up and running for the 21-22 season, it's finally that time to turn our focus to our Game Week 1 squads, and start getting excited for a brand new season of the game we all love. After an extended break for me, it's good to be back. So in this video, I'm going to talk through my initial draft for the upcoming FPL season, and explain why I've included the players I have. Of course, at the time of uploading this one, we're still 3 weeks away from the season starting, and as we all know, things can change very quickly in football as they can in FPL, especially with pre-season games still to monitor, and not to mention some big moves in the transfer window to undoubtedly shake things up. For this reason, this draft is, as always, subject to change, and I'll likely upload another draft in a week or two's time if I do make any significant changes. Until then, I'll have plenty of other FPL pre-season content on the way for you to keep you entertained whilst we all wait for that much anticipated Game Week 1 deadline. Now, if you're here to witness a master of the Fantasy Premier League game, then I think it's safe to say you're in the wrong place, especially considering my showing in the last couple of seasons. However, if you're simply interested in joining me and enjoying the long FPL season together, witnessing firsthand my FPL emotional rollercoaster, and hopefully finding some useful stats and laughs along the way, then please consider showing your support for the channel simply by clicking the subscribe button right now. To help me further, you can also click the notification bell just beside the subscribe button, and then you'll be first to know of any new content that goes up on the channel. So let's crack on and look at my initial draft for the 21-22 season. Exciting stuff. Between the sticks, I've currently opted for Brighton's Robert Sanchez, who appears to be one of the better 4.5 million goalkeeping options. Despite finishing 16th in the Premier League last season, Brighton actually posted some extremely impressive defensive numbers, so hopefully they can continue that form heading into the new season, albeit without Ben White, who will no doubt be a big miss for them. The Seagulls kept 12 clean sheets last season, joint 5th best, and only conceded 46 in 38 games, ranking them 7th. Really not bad considering their final league position. In this draft, there's a few players of which I'm 99% sure are already nailed into my Game Week 1 squad, and one of those is Everton's Luca Digne. The left back has been given a price decrease this season, and in my opinion a generous one, dropping to 5.5 million as opposed to his 6 million price tag last time out. I really think that can prove excellent value for the French defender, who's been a superb creative outlet for Everton in recent seasons. Amongst defenders, he ranked 2nd for assists last year with 9 and 3rd in the previous year with 8, an impressive return. Everton also have, in my opinion, one of the kindest runs of opening fixtures to begin this season, with a favourable run that stretches all the way to Game Week 10. Given these nice opening fixtures for Everton, the temptation is there to double up on their assets for Game Week 1, and for the time being, it's Calvert-Lewin who does complete an Everton double up. This one for me is a bit of a question mark, because there's plenty of forwards around this price bracket that I like, particularly Patrick Bamford at 8 million, who I do think is the better player. It simply leads fixtures that I'm not too fussed on for the opening games. Calvert-Lewin's a player I've not had any fortune with in the past, always missing his purple patches, and I can't say I'm fully convinced on starting the season with him. It is worth remembering though just how good he was at the beginning of last season, where he scored the bulk of his goals, and there's no doubting the opening fixtures do look appealing. Accompanying Digne in defence is two other defenders on the more expensive side of things in Alexander-Arnold and Luke Shaw. After a very turbulent United career, Luke Shaw enjoyed a superb season last year and went on to win their Player of the Year award following a string of impressive performances. Amongst defenders last season, Shaw ranked 2nd for key passes and was a constant threat down that left-hand side. To be fair, United as a whole were fairly good defensively last year, with 13 clean sheets ranking them 4th, and the Red Devils also kick off this season with a few nice-looking opening fixtures. If all that wasn't enough, Luke Shaw was also an outstanding performer in the Euros this summer, further solidifying his place in my starting lineup. As for Alexander-Arnold, I think this one's fairly self-explanatory. who, despite being a costly 7.5 million, offers exceptional attacking output as we know. Amongst defenders, no player had more shots than Trent last year with a whopping 55, and he also, unsurprisingly, created the most big chances of any defender as well. There were times last season when he didn't quite offer value for money, with the Reds at one point going through a very dreadful spell of form. However, with Van Dijk hopefully returning to begin this season, as well as their new addition Konate, I'm hoping this will help Alexander-Arnold in racking up those clean sheet points as well, because without those, his attacking output alone may not be enough to justify the 7.5 million. So these three defenders I'm feeling fairly certain I'll start the season with, but as for the fourth, it's something I'm still weighing up. As I've just mentioned, if Van Dijk were to be fit enough to start this season for Liverpool, then I'm obviously expecting them to be a lot more solid defensively, and in that case I would be drawn to the classic double-up of Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. I know this would make my backline a very expensive one, but over the years this double-up is something I've long been drawn towards in FPL. Over the last 3 Premier League seasons, only Kevin De Bruyne has more assists than these two across all positions. De Bruyne with 34, whilst Trent and Robbo have 32 and 30 respectively. This really epitomises just what kind of attacking output these two can give, and like I said, if they can deliver clean sheets on top of that, then they can be pure dynamite from an FPL perspective. Opting for them both will of course depend heavily on whether Van Dijk does prove to be fit for Game Week 1, so until that becomes more clear, it's Diogo Jota in midfield who I've opted for instead, and choosing between him and Robertson is a 50-50 that I'm still deciding on. Liverpool opened the season with a very nice looking run of fixtures, so for me a triple up on their assets is looking likely to start the campaign, with Mo Salah also in midfield. Selecting Salah for me does feel an easy one, especially with him being a standout captaincy option for their opening fixture against Norwich in Game Week 1. Had his teammate Sadio Mane come in at much cheaper, for example maybe 10.5 million, then I think at that point us managers would have had a bigger decision to make between him or Salah. But with them once again being priced virtually the same, Salah over Mane feels like a simple one for me personally. Also in the side in my initial draft are Watkins and Grealish of Aston Villa, who were impressive as a team and individually last season. I don't expect to keep this Villa double up for too long, with the Villains having a much more difficult run of fixtures from Game Week 4 onwards. However, it's their opening 3 games that really jump off the page. In those opening 3 game weeks, Villa faced 2 promoted sides, Watford and Brentford, either side of a home fixture against Newcastle in Game Week 2. And providing that Jack Grealish does remain at Villa this season, then I really like his and Watkins' chances for those 3. Once the difficult fixtures do hit from Game Week 4 onwards, it could then be an easy transition onto Leeds players like Bamford and Rafinha, who then head into some nice fixtures of their own. As mentioned, owning both Watkins and Grealish to begin this season will really depend on the latter's future. Completing the initial draft are 2 players in the differential category, and that's Mason Greenwood and Riyad Mahrez. With Marcus Rashford looking like he'll miss the opening weeks of the season, I'm hoping Mason Greenwood could have a good impact in United's nice few opening fixtures. United kick off their campaign against Leeds, Southampton, Wolves and Newcastle, so some decent matchups there for Greenwood to hopefully have an impact in. Greenwood ended last season very strongly, and could serve me well as a good placeholder for Rafinha in Game Week 5, because that's the week United's fixtures turn more difficult whilst Leeds have a much nicer run. As for Mahrez, well, we all know of his qualities, but he is more of a wild card pick in this draft and certainly not guaranteed a place in my final Game Week 1 team. In my opinion, he was one of City's most important players last season, and with no Champions League to worry about in the opening game weeks, I'm hoping that he may be assured a lot more minutes. When Game Week 1 does arrive, I may end up starting the season with no City coverage. However, with them boasting a home fixture against Norwich in Game Week 2, that does feel like a nice game to have some coverage for, and on his day, Mahrez can be one of the most explosive FPL assets. The reason I quite like owning Mahrez at 9 million is that it does give me an easy route to other players around this price bracket, such as Havertz, Jadon Sancho and Son Heung-min, all who could be very handy options. If I were to stick with Mahrez for the opening weeks, then I'm certainly going to need some cover on the bench, because more often than not, when Mahrez doesn't play, he doesn't get subbed on either. I don't intend to spend too much on my bench at the start of this season, because I found all the benching headaches of having a big squad last season did become tedious. For now, it's budget defender Luke Ayling that I've opted for, who I believe is one of the best 4.5 defensive options. As mentioned many times already, Leeds have an excellent run of fixtures from Game Week 5, so I'm going to want him in the squad from then onwards, and until then he can be a handy backup to Mahrez or anyone else in the meantime. So after an extended break away from the game, that's how my first draft team looks following a bit of initial tinkering over the weekend. As goes without saying, there's still a long time before the Game Week 1 deadline, so there's certainly scope for the team to change before then. What I'll do now is go away, get cracking on plenty of pre-season FPL content, take a deep dive into some more stats to keep you guys entertained, and then perhaps implement any findings into my own FPL squad. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if so, don't forget to stick with me this season by clicking subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell so you're always aware when a new video goes live. FPL responsibly, and I'll catch you all in the next video.